Hey guys, it's Tales Beyond Veils here. Today we're going to be reading some very scary horror stories. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. The Mirror in Room 13. I never believed in haunted hotels. Ghost stories were just that, stories. That was until I spent a night at the Crescent Hollow Inn. It was an old, crumbling building tucked away in a forgotten part of town, known only by the locals for its unsettling past. Built in the late 1800s, the hotel was once a lavish gateway for the wealthy. But after a series of unexplained disappearances, it closed its doors. Over the years, it became something of a legend. People whispered about it, but no one dared go inside, especially into room 13. When I arrived, the hotel was nearly empty, just as I expected. The innkeeper, an older lady with silver hair and piercing eyes, handed me my key without a word. I could feel her gaze linger on me, her expression a mix of pity and warning. Brass numbers on the key shimmered in the dim light. Room 13. As I walked down the creaky hallway, a sense of unease washed over me. The walls were lined with old portraits, faces of guests long forgotten. Eyes seemed to follow me as I made my way to the end of the hall. When I reached my room, I hesitated. Number 13 glaring at me from the door. With a shaky breath, I turned the key and stepped inside. The room was old-fashioned but oddly pristine, as if it had been untouched by time. The bed, draped in dusty lace, sat in the center, and to the side was a massive antique mirror, its frame intricately carved with grotesque faces. The mirror dominated the room, and as I stood before it, a strange chill crept up my spine. Ignoring the growing discomfort, I set my bag down and decided to explore the small space. That's when I noticed something unsettling. No matter where I stood, the mirror didn't reflect me correctly. My reflection was off, sometimes delayed, other times flickering like a broken TV. At one point, I could have sworn I saw my reflection smile. My own face remained still. Unnerved, I decided to turn the mirror to face the wall. As I dragged it, something in the reflection caught my eye. For a split second, there was someone behind me, a shadowy figure, tall and gaunt, standing near the bed. I whipped around, but the room was empty. My heart pounded, and the air seemed colder than before. I tried to shake it off, convincing myself it was my imagination. Still, an oppressive feeling lingered in the room, thick like fog. I checked my phone. No signal, of course. Frustrated, I decided to lie down and try to sleep. But sleep didn't come. I tossed and turned, the air growing heavier with every passing hour. Around midnight, I heard it. A faint scratching, like nails dragging across wood. My heart raced as I realized it was coming from behind the mirror. Cautiously, I got up, my legs trembling. The mirror still faced the wall, but the scratching continued, now more frantic, almost desperate. I leaned in, listening closely, and then a soft whisper, so faint, it's almost drowned out by the sound of my own heartbeat. "Get me out!" I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat. The voice didn't belong to anyone I knew, or to anything human. Terrified, I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the mirror and yanked it away from the wall, hoping to find some explanation. Instead, what I saw made my blood run cold. The reflection wasn't of the room. It was of a dark, endless corridor. In the distance, a figure stood barely visible. A woman, in a tattered dress, her face obscured by shadows. She stood perfectly still, facing away from me. As I stared in horror, she began to turn, slowly revealing a face I will never forget. Her eyes were hollow, black pits, and her mouth stretched unnaturally wide as if frozen in a silent scream. She stared directly at me, her head tilting unnaturally to one side. And she took a step forward, her movements jerky and disjointed. I backed away from the mirror, but the image didn't change. She was coming closer, her figure growing larger in the reflection. I could hear the scratching again, louder this time, coming from inside the mirror. I bolted for the door, but no matter how hard I pulled, it wouldn't open. I screamed, pounded on the door, but no one came. The woman was almost at the glass now, her hand reaching out as if she could claw her way through to my side. Then everything went still. The scratching stopped. I turned slowly, dreading what I might see. The mirror was empty. I blinked, confused. The reflection was just the rim again, normal. My pulse began to slow, but fear still gripped me. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks. I laughed nervously, trying to convince myself I was safe. That's when I saw it. My reflection didn't move. I raised my hand to my face, and the version of me in the mirror remained still, grinning with that same unnatural smile. My reflection tilted its head just like the woman had, and took a step toward me. I screamed, but no sound came up. My voice was gone. My body was frozen in place, but in the mirror, I was moving, closer and closer to the glass. My eyes, hollow and black. And then I understood. I wasn't looking at my reflection anymore. I was on the other side. Thank you guys for listening to my very scary horror stories. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, and share this video. Bye!